All right, I did a video or a few videos a few years ago on alignment and protraction of the shoulder, and I did a couple on using the wall bag to develop your release or non-rebound energy whenever you're hitting or training your strikes. So what I'm going to talk about today, I wanted to get into doing some more of that. A lot of you enjoyed those videos, so it's time to actually do some more. One thing I wanted to touch on today was relative alignment and just working on release. You can do this on the Mach-E Warrior Board, but a wall bag and a Mach-E Warrior Board are two completely different entities when it comes to training, and they yield slightly different results as far as isolation. I primarily use the wall bag. I use it constantly. I use it all the time. I actually use it even more than I do a Mach-E Warrior Board. But my primary purpose is for full release of my energy, no matter how I stand, no matter what alignment I'm in. I just need relative alignment. What I mean by relative, we train for optimal, we train for that perfection. We're gonna, spend our entire life doing that. But there's ways to generate power from any position. I don't care if you're laying on your back. I don't care if you're on your face on your back. You can generate some kind of power. Is it optimal? No, but optimal rarely happens in the real world. So one thing that I like to do is just pick a position. So if I pick a position like this and just lift my arm, I only want enough tension in my hand, just literally to only make the fist. That's it, nothing else. No squeezing. I do not squeeze, I do not tense. Once I make impact, none of the above, because I don't need to. It's not something that's necessary. And it yields devastating results if someone's on the other end of it. Now, there is a purpose for squeezing or using some residual tension whenever you're hitting someone or hitting soft targets and so on and so forth. But for this purpose, I just want to cast my hand in the air, or just even hold it from here and just throw my fist into it and just make sure I have relative alignment. I only need enough alignment to create a solid structure. And by structure, I just mean the bones. That's it. I could care less about the musculature whatsoever. So I just want enough to be able to hit with it. And I want all the blowback to hit bone structure. Like my bicep should be shaking whenever I make impact. It should be completely loose. I shouldn't have any tension in my traps and my shoulders and my chest or anything like that. Most of you know that. So if I just stand here and even go from down here at my side, whatever it takes to get this in alignment with the bag is what I do, and go straight there. And I'm gonna feel a kickback that comes all the way through my lats, but I'm not gonna feel my lats engage. I'm not trying to actively engage. I'm not throwing my hand out. I'm just allowing the body to compensate as I put the hand in alignment. And this doesn't seem like much at all. And I'll do some live demonstrations of this in some future videos, hitting some of my students and stuff with them holding various targets, but it really, really helps. And I really like standing directly in front of it and just being completely loose and going from point A to point B and doing vertical fist strikes, or even, standard horizontal fist, and not necessarily worrying about the trajectory of my elbow necessarily or anything like that, because you can still create devastating power, because there's optimal and then there's what can we do. So even getting as close as just chilling against the wall, taking this hand and hitting it does have merit. It actually has a purpose to even be able to do things like that. Or even leaning backwards, which is not necessarily optimal. I'm leaning away, just take your hand completely relaxed. You might be in the middle of a conversation, and just throw from there. But if I have tension that goes through my back whenever I make impact, I actually kick myself back a little bit. I absorb more of that rebound and I actually feel it. If I have any tension in my fist, because this is concrete, and the rice and beans and a little bit of rocks that are in here are only going to absorb so much. So if I'm a little tense and I hit, I feel that vibration go to my bicep, go into my shoulder, activate a little bit of a shoulder issue I've had over the years, and things like that. But if I just casually find positions, doesn't matter if I stand back here and I casually take a step forward and just not worrying about I have to turn my hips, I have to root to the ground, I have to grip. Those are all fantastic, and I do those things constantly. That's for optimal training and for self-mastery and mastery of the body. It's the same thing with katas and stuff. I do that for self-mastery and self-mastery alone, but there is where you can actually pull off, and the development of isolation within your drills and isolating, being able to take the impact, because we know this is not about conditioning your knuckles. This is not about any of that. It's about actually being able to use penetration energy and actually be able to have alignment in an instant whenever we're doing any of our strikes, to be able to have that power on a moment's notice. And I think we have to have kind of a nonchalant way of using positioning and a non-optimal way to use positioning. I mean, even being out here like this and just finding the alignment for that looks like nothing, but it's going to do something. You actually have to train something like that though. So that's just some ideas to think about whenever you're working on something like this, and some of those same things apply to the Marquee Warrior Board as well.